What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we are back with round 2 from the Vault Tour over in Germany. Now, we're in a weird situation here where people watching on Twitch are having to sit through the YouTube intros so that the intro's ready to go. And those of you watching on YouTube are going to have to put up with me talking as if I'm doing a live event. So, yeah. It's kind of a fun, interesting way to go about doing it. Now, the internet at the venue isn't perfect, but we are doing the best we have with what we've got. So, let's have a quick look at the deck list. So on the left, we've got Tamrak of Fishmere Pike, a Logos Mars Shadows deck. It's got library access, it's got Wild Wormhole, it's got 2 Doc Bookton, draw a card when you reap. It's got Irradiated Amber. If your opponent has 6 amber or more, deal 3 to each enemy creature. There's a Compod in there, we don't see too often. Reveal any number of Mars cards from your hand. For each card revealed this way, you may ready 1 Mars creature. You've probably seen the art of that, it's on the Vault Tour mat. And Custom Virus, you sacrifice Custom Virus, you purge a creature from your hand, and destroy each creature that shares a trait with the purged creature. So you would get something like Beast or Thief, and any creature that had that trait, traits are the little bits of writing at the top of the text box, they would be destroyed. Now you have to purge one of your creatures to destroy some of your opponents, but you know, sometimes it's worth it. And then we've got 2 copies of Routine Job, 2 copies of Pawn Sacrifice. Over on the other side, we've got Maria playing Luke Medina, Hostigador del Collatred. Oh, we've got Benice on the left. And what do we see here? So we've got a Mighty Lance. Deal 3 damage to a creature, 3 damage to a neighbour. Oath of Poverty. Destroy each of your artifacts. Gain 2 for each artifact that was destroyed. Now, if we have a look at the amount of artifacts they've got here. What have we got? So we got I don't think there's any artifacts here in Sanctum at all, which is not ideal. Now, there is a Seeker Needle over in Shadows, but I think that's it. Yeah, there aren't that many artifacts in this deck, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately. Never mind. We've got 2 Much to Protect and Bait and Switch. We've got a Dust Pixie, 2 Murmook that increase the cost of your opponent's keys by 1 amber. So that could be kind of cool. And we've got a Witch of the Eye, which doesn't usually last very long. Alex, who was on the stream with us in... Yeah, it was on stream with us in Birmingham. He refers to them as Burn the Witch cards, because they're often witch. You got Witch of the Eye, Hunting Witch, Dusk Witch. Basically cards that are so gosh darn good, you've got to get them off the field as soon as they hit the field. So Witch of the Eye has got a Reaping skill. Return a card from your discard pile to your hand. So, I've just received word from the lovely Carl, who is helping to run the stream here, saying that the internet should be a lot better moving forward. But look, it's a community-run live stream for a new game. Not every game has, every Vault Tour, and I mean every one, has had a community live stream. I think there's only 2 that I've not commentated like every round from. Go check my channel if you want to see more of them. So, okay, they're not always going to be perfect, but still, we've got, community streams from every Vault Tour, pretty gosh darn good. So Benice does go first here. She chucks down a Carlo Phantom and got Elusive and Skirmish. And then over to Maria, and she's working on her Untamed. So we've got Flaxia, gain 2 amber if you control more creatures than your opponent, which she does. So she gets a 2 amber, because she played a Dew Fairy down beforehand, basically double reaping. It's not actually double reaping, but it's effectively double reaping. That's what I'm calling it, ladies and gentlemen. And is that a curiosity? Destroy each scientist creature. It's one of these hyper-specific cards which are really weird, but they're kind of cool, and Untamed has more of them. There's one that destroys all elusive creatures. To be fair, they've also got the Common Cold, which destroys each Mars creature, which is kind of harsh. And to be fair, there are a bunch of scientists in Mars and there are a bunch of scientists in Logos. So actually, this is a good deck in which to have Curiosity. But it's one of those you can't save it in your hand for later, not as long as it would probably take. So Wild Wormhole comes down, allows them to play is that a Pawn Sacrifice? Yes, it is. Now, of course, one of the things about Wild Wormhole, you have to play the top card of your deck. And unfortunately, Pawn Sacrifice, you have to destroy one of your creatures. So she gets a Doc Bookton down. She did get to take out the Dew Fairy as well, which ain't too bad. So it could be a lot worse. And we just see an Amber coming down there. Sometimes you're just playing these things for Amber. Now that's Lost in the Woods. Choose 2 friendly and 2 enemy creatures. Shuffle each chosen creature into its owner's deck. Is that up to? I thought Lost in the Woods you had to do. Huh. I thought Lost in the Woods wasn't, never mind. Right, so we've got a Jihu the Bureaucrat down. That's the one where you get 2 Amber every time you play an artifact. And there aren't many artifacts in her deck, unfortunately, but, you know, might get some Amber here or there. Quick Study Adventurer comes down for Bernice, along with a Ganymede Archivist. Couple of creatures, that's all good. Okay. I mean, she's building up a nice little stable of creatures on her board. Not got as much Amber as Maria, but having said that, she's not forging yet, Maria. She's only got 5 Amber, so I mean, nominally Maria's slightly ahead, but we're really at that point in the game where it doesn't really matter. Oh, now we've got some Sanctum tricks going on, ladies and gentlemen. Now, that was... Oh, I'm lying to you, ladies and gentlemen. I think the previous card was actually an Oath of Poverty. Go and look at the artwork for Oath of Poverty and Lost in the Woods. They are weirdly similar. My apologies for that one. I didn't think it was weird that she seemed to be playing Untamed and Sanctum cards. Clearly she didn't. So she also gets down a Sergeant Zakiel there. When you play, you may ready and fight with a neighbouring creature. And frankly, that explains why Quixo's not there anymore. So not going too bad, ladies and gentlemen. Incidentally, there was a Shield of Justice that came down. For the remainder of the turn, each friendly creature cannot be dealt damage. That's how we saw Jihu the Bureaucrat take down a Quixo the Adventurer and survive. They're both free power creatures, but that Shield of Justice saved it. So we see an Umbra coming down and Miasma. Now that's going to help. Miasma comes down from Bernice here. That is a card that says your opponent skips their Forge a Key step. And now we see Ghostly Hand getting 2 Amber. This is exactly the turn that Bernice needed. She's stopping Maria forging. She's putting herself on check. This is a good turn here. Now, she's only ending with 6 Amber, and we've seen time and time again, getting rid of 1 Amber from your opponent is rarely the most difficult thing ever. There's a very good chance Bernice isn't going to forge on her next turn. But the point here is that Bernice is on check and she stopped Maria forging. It was one of those awkward turns where Bernice really needed to do both, and she did. And that's a general thing we got going on in Keyforge so much. If you're ahead in the game, you get to race for Amber and ignore your opponent. But if you're even or behind, you're constantly trying to juggle that dual aim, I suppose, of stop your opponent forging, get yourself closer to forging. It's why some of these decks that can make a really fast start have such a huge advantage. So we do see Bait and Switch coming down. It doesn't actually do anything here. There is no stealing to be done. It basically steals an Amber if your opponent's got more than you, but you don't. So gutted, quite frankly. So really it's just being discarded. Now, to be fair, it's if your opponent has more Amber than you, steal 1. Repeat this card's effect if your opponent still has more Amber than you, but opponent doesn't. So, sorry. It's not working, ladies and gentlemen. It's not working. Hidden Stash comes down, allows you to archive a card. Now, we mentioned archiving back in round 1. Archiving a card, basically, you just chuck it down. And at the beginning of your turn, you may pick up your entire archive or none of it. You do not get to only pick up some. It's all or nothing. Oh, Poison Wave. There are 2 in the deck. Deal 2 damage to a creature when you play it. Doc Buckton's the only one there. Gives you an amber bonus. So archiving, especially if it's only from one house, you can just stash it there. Stash something like, I mean, to be honest, Curiosity, we mentioned earlier, would be a great option for archiving. Wait till your opponent's got a bunch of scientists down and then smash. So you see Duskrunner coming down here. When you reap, you steal an amber. Now, you also gain the amber for reaping. So when you've got a Duskrunner on, when you reap, you gain an amber and steal an amber. Just because you gain a skill when reaping doesn't mean you're not also reaping. Just like having a fight skill doesn't mean the fight doesn't happen. So it was a good turn for Maria, but she actually didn't get rid of any amber. I'm sitting here saying how easy it is to get rid of one. Ha! So Dimension Door comes down here. For the remainder of the turn, any amber you would gain from reaping is stolen from your opponent instead. So steals 1 by reaping with Doc Buckton, draws a card. We then see a... Oh, that's an interdimensional graft. If your opponent forges a key next turn, they've got to give you their remaining amber. Great time to play the card, because Maria is forging a key. Now, it's upsetting that Bernice isn't able, because sometimes your opponent forges a key, puts you up above 6, and then you get to forge next turn. As it is, I mean, Bernice here, she's still got 4 amber. She's still in a really good position, and Maria's got none. So that miasma stopped Maria forging. And then that interdimensional graft. Now, bearing in mind, no miasma, Maria forges before Bernice plays the interdimensional graft. So the miasma one turn, interdimensional graft the next, is what stopped Bernice from being behind in the game and actually put her ahead in the game. Playing those 2 cards in that order was a masterful move, which is why she's now got more amber and why she forged the first key. That was a good play. So we're over to Maria now. She's got one of them there Dust Pixies in hand. She's got a couple of Sanctum cards. So there's just a little bit of a question going on. What's going on? I have no idea, is the honest answer, ladies. I'm sorry. I can't see. But we do see a Sanctum card coming down, which takes out that Doc Buckton. So he gone. Now, I believe that was the harder they come. You purge a creature with 5 power or higher. Wait. Yes, Doc Buckton has 5 power. Sneaky powerful creature, Doc Buckton. You don't think of it as 5 power is kind of like the start of high. You don't think of that. So we do see a champion and a Naphiel coming down, and then we see Reaping with Jehu the Bureaucrat and Sergeant Zakiel, bearing in mind that Reaping with Sergeant Zakiel means you get to steal an amber. Also, shout out to the lovely chaps running the stream here, because when both players have the same amber tokens, you can actually just steal them. I don't like it when one player puts in their pool and one player takes from theirs. No! Okay, so that is that Compod we talked about earlier. And Compod, reveal any Mars creatures from your hand. For each card revealed this way, you may ready 1 Mars creature. But of course, she had to put down the Grabber Jammer in order to ready it. But when you fight or reap, you capture an amber, and it increases the cost of your opponent forging by 1. So that's pretty good, ladies and gentlemen. Although, incidentally, I should say Compod is an artifact, so it doesn't get used to ready it this turn. So sorry, that was slightly confusing the way I phrased that. You can't ready it this turn because you can't use Compod. It's an artifact, it comes in exhausted. But in future turns, she will. But just being able to put the Grabber Jammer down stopped Maria reaping. But not for long. Because you see, Maria just went a bit nuts. She played a whole bunch of cards, including Blinding Light, which should mean that Grabber Jammer is stunned now. And she reaped with 3 of her creatures, and she stole 1 because she's got the Duskrunner. So now Maria went, all right, you're going to stop me forging by putting a Grabber Jammer down and increasing the cost of forging by 1. Now I've got 11 amber. You move. Now, pre-bait and switch errata, that would do it, but it won't. If Bernice had Doorstep to Heaven or Effervescent Principle, now would be a great time to play them. But she doesn't have Effervescent Principle in her logo suite. She doesn't play Sanctum. Too much to protect. followed by another lot of stealing would also do it, but she has no too much to protect. And they're the kind of cards she needs. When your opponent's got that much amber, you're looking for something like too much to protect, doorstep to heaven, effervescent principle. And the problem is, you don't have those cards. And when you don't have those cards, you look at your opponent with 11 amber and go, what? Now, does look like she's using her combat pheromones there. Sacrifice combat pheromones. You may use up to 2 other Mars cards this turn. Although that blinding light came down, I'm slightly yeah, I'm sure that Grabber Jammer should be stunned here, because blinding light, you choose a house stun each creature of that house. But regardless, it's coming around. Now, do remember that Champion Anafiel has taunt, so you have to go after Champion Anafiel. You cannot go after Jihu the Bureaucrat here, but it doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is that Grabber Jammer is able to capture the amber, which it does. I mean, it's still not stopping Maria reaping. I said 11 amber, unless that was actually 12. So Nerve Blast comes down to steal an amber and do a damage. That's lovely. But there's Routine Job, which steals an amber and then steals 1 for each copy of Routine Job in your discard pile, which there are none. So Shadow South comes down, and then we see a pawn sacrifice to get rid of it. And then do 3 damage to 2 creatures. So down goes Sergeant Zakiel. Now, remember, you could use this to get rid of Jihu the Bureaucrat, because Taunt doesn't affect it. Taunt means you can't fight it, but you can still do the cheeky damage. Compare that with something like Shadow Self, where all damage is redirected to Shadow Self, and even cheeky damage, non-attack damage, will go on to Shadow Self here. So, I mean, look, Bernice, she did a heck of a job that turn. She got Maria down to only 8 amber, which I think is pretty good going. But there's no way she was going to be able to stop Maria forging her. It just wasn't on the cards. Get it? Because they're playing a card game. So, yeah. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things. You try everything you can, ladies and gentlemen, but the fact of the matter is, it's very, very hard to stop your opponent forging when they start the turn with 12 amber. Now, that is Lost in the Woods. Seriously, when you get a minute, go and look at the art for Lost in the Woods and go and look at the art for Oath of Poverty. They're both basically got trees that slant down from top right to bottom left in a kind of curve motion. And when you're commentating the stream and looking at them from a bit of a distance, I'm also going to play the colorblind card here, even though brown and blue are extremely different colors. So Dust Pixie comes down, gains a couple of amber, and I think we're seeing the beginning of the end of the game. Mermoot comes down to increase the cost of forging by 1. Second Mermoot comes down, and that kind of gets rid of mine. Oh, we get a Hunting Witch down, a Witch of the Eye as well. And the crucial thing here is that those 2 Mermoot are each increasing the cost of forging by 1. Which means Bernice's keys cost 8, which means she's not forging, and incidentally Maria is on check. Now, there's probably a decent chance, well, there is a decent chance, that Bernice is going to be able to take Maria off of forging. No, there should be no forging. She's got 7 amber, there's 2 Mermoot, she needs 8. So now, I mean, I think Maria's probably got this. Because even if Bernice takes her off of check, Maria can just go, okay, Untamed, reap, 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 reap. And there's nothing, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely nothing. Bernice concedes. Maria is your winner. She wins 3 keys to 1. And that's what happens if you can rush amber. We're not used to seeing Sanctum rush for amber like that. But what we saw there was a lot of... honestly, a lot of everything. She had the creature, she had the extra amber, she had a little bit of disruption. It was one of those games where Maria just had what she needed, unfortunately. And Bernice couldn't keep up. Now, like I've said, we are in 3 deck survival here. So that means that Bernice loses her deck, not literally. Oh, how harsh would that be? A format where you actually, when you lost of a deck, you had to give it to the tournament organizers and they like burned it. That'd be so weird. Oh, that would be a nervy tournament. But anyway, so you got 3 decks. When you lose with one, it's eliminated from the tournament. When you lose with your third, you are eliminated from the tournament. You need to win 4 out of your 6 rounds in order to go through. If you lose 3, you've lost with all 3 decks. The deck with which you enter day 2 is the deck with which you play day 2, and day 2 is single elimination. So, if you cut with the wrong deck, that's it. You will see some players at 4-1 deliberately lose a game or concede a game so that they don't have to play with that deck. What's super interesting, what happens if both players enter round 6 at 4-1 and neither wants to go and play with that one in day 2? That's a fun question. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching on the YouTube, comment, like, subscribe, Twitter @the Wossy, you know the deal. Look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching.